The World 5 team of Blue Lock is composed of some of the best strikers we have seen in the Blue Lock series to date, being composed of Leonardo Luna from Real Madrid in Spain, Adam Blake, who is known as the highest scoring player in the English league, Dada Silva, who is commonly a tank on the field, Pablo Cabusu, who is the best free kicker in the world, and the 17-year-old Julian Loki, the God Sprinter. They were first introduced near Chapter 88 of Blue Lock, where it was revealed that the Blue Lock players would be facing off against them in the third selection to determine how good they are at this point in time. Now obviously at this point in time, the Blue Lock players were not good enough to play at an international level, which led to them getting demolished by the World 5 players even when they weren't even breaking a sweat or trying really. This gave the Blue Lock players a harsh reality check that the world stage is still very far away from them and they still have much farther to go. But now it's been almost a full 200 chapters since that match, and each and every Blue Lock player in some way or another has gone through severe development in skill throughout all these chapters and the new Egoist League, leading them to get closer and closer to that world class level. So in this video I wanted to answer the question of what would happen if they would have a rematch with this World 5 team, after all the developments, all the skills that they've gained, and the mindsets they've adopted throughout the way. With all of these advancements and evolutions, could they beat the World 5 team? Now to preface this will be in the exact same scenario as in the third selection. It'll be a game to 5 points, with the same exact teams as before, but just switch out Blue Lock with their Neo Egoist League counterparts. And in this video, I'll be going over all of their Neo Egoist League evolutions to see if they've evolved just enough to beat the World 5. But before we begin, I'd like to say that if you enjoy this type of content, make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more Blue Lock content just like this. To begin this, I quickly want to go over how exactly they lost to the World 5 team to determine what the Blue Lock team actually lacked that was necessary to beat this team head on. I'll cover this by going over the moments that Blue Lock began to lose a play to the World 5 team, ending in what would inevitably be a goal. The first goal that the World 5 got was from Loki, and the main reason that Blue Lock began to fail is because Isagi let him go. And what I mean by this is Isagi completely misread Loki's weapon, and rather than expecting him to go at him head on, he assumed that since Loki was approaching slowly and keeping an eye out on the field, he may have been looking for a passing course. But because of Loki's speed, as soon as he takes his first step towards Isagi, it's already too late for Isagi to save the play. And he was able to do the exact same thing to the rest of the field, barring Rin, who was able to predict Loki's route because of his foresight, but Loki was simply faster, and ended up accelerating even more just to get past Rin and score his goal. So the main problem with this play was their simple lack of knowledge on Loki's skills and Loki's insane dominance with his speed. In the next play, Blue Lock begins off with the ball, but Rin ends up getting the ball stolen from him by Luna because he was so pressed by Loki's speed that he simply forgot to look around and gain tunnel vision because of it. Now this specifically should be something that doesn't normally happen to the pros, since as Isagi mentioned, most of the pros in the world probably have metavision already. So outside of just a lack of knowledge of the enemy skills, another thing that Blue Lock lacks currently is a lack of experience, and with that, a lack of metavision. Nevertheless, after getting the ball stolen, Pablo gains the ball and passes it up to the goal box where Ryu and Dada Silva are waiting. Ryu, of course being a very lengthy player, thinks that he can't lose a mid-air battle, but because of Dada Silva's insane brute strength, it's not even a close fight, and Dada Silva ends up sending a pass down to Adam Blake, who is fighting Tokimitsu. But once again, this fight isn't close at all either, and Tokimitsu ends up getting left in the dust by Adam Blake in his amazing physicals. Keep in mind, Tokimitsu is one of the physically strongest characters in the Blue Lock program at this time, being able to compete with people like Baro and being said to have infinite stamina. These stats even allowed him to reach up to the top 3. Now in the next play, Botcher tries to get past Pablo with his dribbling, but Pablo sees right through him and tells him that his rhythm is dynamic but he doesn't have enough patterns, which would once again be a lack of experience on Blue Lock's part. Pablo then passes the ball to Adam Blake, who then passes it to Loki, who is being guarded by Isagi, or at least Isagi is trying to guard him. While Isagi is attempting to guard Loki, he says that even if he understands the World 5's plays, they're so fast that he can't stop them in time. Loki then passes the ball up to Dada Silva, who is still being guarded by Ryu, and Dada Silva, having just immensely better physicals, ends up dominating in a mid-air battle once again. So the loss of this play can be attributed to a lack of physical stats and a lack of experience. Now for the last 2 plays, I'll be honest, there isn't really a clear reason why Blue Lock lost aside from that they're simply worse than the other team. But from the information that we've gathered from the matches I've already covered, I think we can come to a clear consensus of what Blue Lock truly lacks that made them lose this battle. Now the main trends that we see in the plays that Blue Lock lost was first and foremost a complete lack of experience. For most of their lifetime, Blue Lock has only been playing around children, literally people their age. This type of environment can't be compared to a battlefield like the real soccer field in a true match that's on a worldwide scale. Outside of simply playing games, there was simply no way for Blue Lock to bridge this gap in experience whatsoever. But the second thing we have is that they were simply losing to the abilities that make them special. The abilities that someone specializes in Blue Lock are simply average or even below average to the people in the worldwide league. Take for example Tokimitsu's strength. Tokimitsu and Baro are both people who pride themselves in their amazing physical strengths and their ability to win in tackling contests in soccer. They are so strong that they can overpower almost anyone in Blue Lock in terms of physical abilities, but to the people on a worldwide stage who have honed their bodies to such a high level, this is absolutely nothing new for them. So a special ability that's in Blue Lock is something that's completely normal in a battle on the worldwide stage. The same thing goes for Isagi and Rin's vision. At this point in time, they undoubtedly have the best vision in the Blue Lock facility, but like I mentioned before and like Isagi said, the people on the worldwide stage probably already have metavision, so Rin and Isagi's heightened spatial awareness simply doesn't cut it. So now that we've gone over what made Blue Lock truly lose, aside from simply being worse than the World 5 players, we can go over how they've evolved during the Neo Egoist League and whether or not it's substantial enough to actually beat the World 5. I'll be going over their evolutions, listing them from who's evolved the least to who's evolved the most. And last place is actually tied for 2 spots, that being Ryu and Tokimitsu. Now to give Tokimitsu the benefit of the doubt, his first match on screen has just begun, so his evolution can't really be shown all that well. But for Ryu, it's a little bit harder to apologize for the fact that he hasn't really evolved too much. There is the obvious fact that he is a starting defender, and he's able to play the full 90 minutes, which is very, very impressive, but there isn't a lot to say that he's evolved too massively. After all, he is mostly just playing on the ideas that Snuffy's already envisioned for him, but we can safely assume that he's been keeping up his physical training and has obviously gotten a better body than he had before. His job on the Uber team is to swat down passes in the air, and he does it successfully to a pass from Ness to Kaiser, but like I mentioned before, he is just operating under the assumptions that Snuffy made about this match. And even with these predictions that Snuffy made, Krona is still able to get a pass above Ryu, having it get to Isagi. He also ends up getting absolutely cooked by Kaiser, but this is not really surprising. It seems like Ryu also most likely doesn't have metavision, as the 2 main people that were highlighted to have metavision as a surprise in this game were both Nico and Aiku. So not only was Ryu not highlighted to have this ability, he was also cooked by Isagi when Isagi was using metavision on him. So overall, the best we can say for Yukimiya is that he has vaguely better physical stats and some more experience. Overall, his evolution is pretty lackluster. Now moving on to the 3 actual heavy hitters of this team, we have Isagi, Rin, and Bachira. Now keep in mind, Rin's game is still ongoing, so it's pretty hard to track exactly how much he's evolved, so the main portion of the Rin part will be speculation. But the person I think ranked up the least in this amount of time has to be Bachira. Now this is not to say that Bachira is bad by any means, but think about it this way. Bachira's match is the first match we see in the Neo Egoist League, which means that Bachira's match is effectively the worst Bachira that there is in the Neo Egoist League. The entire point of the Neo Egoist League is to have people evolve match by match by match, but because we don't get to see Bachira evolve match by match by match, and we only see him after his 1 month of training, it would make sense why he doesn't rank up the same amount as Isagi and Rin. But let's go over what exactly Bachira has gained over this time skip. Now like Nico, Bachira is a starter for his team, but not only is he a starter, he's a starting striker. After his training with Lavinio, Bachira's dribbling got way more mature, as Isagi says. It's virtually impossible for a defender to tell what his next move is going to be, but at the same time, he has unlimited options, similar to what Rin does in the second selection. Instead of being the proactive Bachira that we always see, he's a more patient player and waits for the defender to slip up, giving him the perfect moment to get right past. And during his match with Kunigami, he showed us that even if he can keep up with his dribbles in terms of seeing them, you have to be able to keep up with him in speed as well, or else he'll simply leave you in the dust. But his dribbling isn't the only thing that his training took a step up. He also stepped up his knowledge and his vision. This is shown when Noah and Lavinio begin their one-on-one battle, and Isagi ends up making Noah lose the ball because he didn't wait for the perfect moment. And after talking to Kaiser, it's revealed that he and Bachira both knew that no one can interrupt this battle, and because it's at such a high level, they had to wait for one of them to lose their rhythm. And the reason I say this ups his knowledge and vision is because Isagi is widely known as having one of the most heightened senses in Blue Lock, and he still didn't pick up on this note. So overall, in just 10 days of training, Bachira became immensely better than he was before, leveling up his main ability, which is dribbling, and getting better vision and knowledge in just that short amount of time. So we can safely assume that current Bachira is quite a bit better than Bachira was in the beginning of the Neo Egoist League. And this is shown pretty well by the fact that he was able to score on undoubtedly one of, if not the most defensively active team in the Neo Egoist League, that being the Ubers. And as we've gone over before, the Ubers team has at least 2 people with metavision on the team, meaning that even in this high level of play and high level of vision, Bachira and his team were still able to get over this and score themselves a goal. So I will say that it is very, very likely that Bachira himself has metavision. Moving on to the person I think evolved second most in this amount of time has to be Rin for now. Now Rin clearly has evolved quite a bit from his previous stage, but just like Tokimitsu, his his match literally just started, so there's not really much we can go off of. It's pretty obvious that he has metavision, as he was not only able to get Kaiser in the perfect position, but he was also able to get Isagi in the perfect position that he wanted. Two of the best U20 metavision users that we know of. He was able to completely dominate both of them and even grab Isagi by his shirt just to give him front row seats to the goal he was about to make. Now let me reiterate this once again. Two metavision users were not able to stop Rin from getting to the position that he exactly wanted. Not only that, but he was also able to stop Kaiser from shooting. But given the benefit of the doubt, Kaiser was also being blocked by Nanase and Karasu. And he then goes on to cook Raichi, Kunigami, and Ness all by himself. So there's no denying that Rin has gotten immensely better and is playing at a very, very high level. But the person that I think has gotten pound for pound better from their previous states has to be Isagi Oichi. Beginning the Neo Egoist League, Isagi had vision similar to Rin's, and of course they both ended up getting metavisions, but you can't argue Rin's is better, which I'd probably agree with. But not only has Isagi gotten metavision, he's also gotten things like his lefty shot and egocentrism, which if he uses it correctly could be the best ability in his arsenal. Now saying Rin is better than Isagi right now is a perfectly fine statement to say, but to say that Rin has evolved more than Isagi from their previous states is something that I'd simply disagree with. Isagi previously wasn't someone who could confidently fight on his own. He wasn't someone that could compete with Michael Kaiser, and he definitely wasn't someone that could make Kaiser scream out of anger and admit himself that he's below Isagi's level at any point in time. Isagi went from seeing Kaiser as his ideal version of himself and as someone he couldn't even imagine getting to not only being able to see at the same level as him, but to also beat him in the competition that they made, which in my opinion is a very high level of evolution. Of course, things may change as chapters come out, as Rin's match is going on weekly, but for now, I will say that Isagi had the best evolution. Now to move on to the main question. Can these 5 with their evolutions beat the World 5? And in my opinion, the answer still has to be no. We simply have to put into perspective how strong the World 5 actually are. Now to get the obvious point out of the way, one of the World 5's players, and the youngest player mind you, is already a master in the Neo Egoist League, which basically automatically puts him above everyone else in the league, as he is a master of it. He stands atop the league along with his other 4 masters. But we also have to remember that the new Gen 11, who Isagi is competing with, should also be significantly below the World 5. The reason for this is Leonardo Luna, who is on the World 5, plays on the Real Madrid team, and one of the most powerful new Gen 11 players, Seitoshi, was making his rounds and showing his talent in the subordinate teams of the Real Madrid, which is said by Leonardo Luna. Now the timeline is vague on this and we don't know when he was really making these rounds, but if we assume he was even nearly as good as he was in the U20 games, it gives us pretty good insight on how the levels really match up. And it shows us that even the likes of the new Gen 11 are only really subordinates to the likes of the World 5. Which makes complete sense, because you have to remember that most of the things that Blue Lock is leading up to is the U20 World Cup. Not the World Cup in general, but the U20 World Cup. They're playing with players around their same age range. And while they are trying to be the best striker in the world, eventually, there are levels to what they do. They can only go so far at a certain age. So while they did gain immense knowledge, immense vision, and immense abilities over their time skip during playing in the Neo Egoist League, this is virtually nothing compared to years of training done by people like Leonardo Luna, Adam Blake, and Dada Silva. But that's all I have for today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. But yeah, goodbye.